we get to know each other's families, and it's a really, it brings it together. And that helps with our serious calls or our calls that aren't very good. So back to the rescue. We have two styles of task force in the state of Kansas. We have a regional task force that responds locally, and then we have a task force one. Like what you heard with the Texas flooding, you heard, I don't know if the news is when they talk about these USAR teams, an urban search and rescue or a swift water team, that's a state's task force one. And Kansas ended up sending 20 guys down there to help with the Texas flooding. So, these kind of came about more the hurricanes. There's always been big cities, New York, Florida, Texas. They've always had these big FEMA teams, is what they call them. Well, a lot more states are getting their own. And last fall, we sent 2 teams down to Georgia and Florida for hurricanes. So I missed my trip. They called me up. I was headed to Florida, and usually they give us about 6-8 hours to get to the destination to leave. And they said, "Hey, are you available?" I said, "Yep, great. We'll leave Monday morning." I said, "Great. Sunday morning, I've got 12 hours, 24 hours. I'll be there, And they called back 2 hours later and said, "Hey, we're leaving in 3 hours." I'm like, out of Kansas City. So I'm like, it's a 4-hour trip. So we'll catch you on the next one. So, but things I'm a part of, I guess, at Hutch. Swift water tech, boat operator, high angle. It's been about 6-7 years ago. The Stratica Mine Salt Museum, 650 feet down, tied a rope around us, went down the shaft, took several people off. We simulated that the elevator got stuck. They couldn't operate it, so we simulated taking people off that. Very unique experience I got to be involved with. I've deployed to 2 tornadoes. I deployed to the Andover tornado 3 years ago, and Eureka. I think that's been about 4 or 5 years ago. So, and that's part of those task force deployments. Yeah.
Did you get shit on any of those big fires?
No, I have not been on any big fires. Hutch has a unique opportunity. We have a brush truck that we deploy, and there's probably 10, 12 guys that are available to go. It kind of depends on our staffing if we send it out or not, but we've had guys, California, Oregon. Actually, one guy just went with a Kansas team to Alaska. So there's a lot of opportunities through Hutch, and I've taken advantage of several of them. So, do we have a fire? Yes and no. So when I was hired on, the yes is we still have the old brass fire poles out of Station 1, and Station 1 was behind the Anchor Inn restaurant in Hutch, the Mexican restaurant on Main Street. There's a great big brick building behind it. It was a 2-story, had brass poles when I got hired on. I spent about 1.5 years out of that station, sliding those poles. Very disappointed that we don't have a station that, has poles anymore. So when I say yes, we still have the poles, is we've cut them in half and we got decorations. Our new Station 1 up there at the fairgrounds, it still has a full pole for decoration when you enter, but nobody gets to slide them anymore. We'd spend every Saturday polishing, waxing them up, and then taking newspaper and sliding. We had rags that we had to hold so we didn't tarnish it and stuff. Yes?
Stations do you have in Hutchinson?
We have 6.
What's the population?
42,000, give or take. If you look at our numbering system, we do not have a station number 2. When they renumbered stations and we moved things around and built number 1, it was originally number 2, but we just left number 2 off the list. We used to have 7, but we've shrunk down to 6. So there's 8 apparatus, fully staffed with 3 to 4 guys, roughly 27 guys on duty at a time. So
Here in Cheney, what are your major calls? Not EMT, but your major fire calls?
Major brush fires. So being in the rural area, we run a lot of grass fires, and that was our highest call volume last year was grass fires, brush fires, stuff like that. We went from 2 brush trucks to 4 brush trucks in the last 3-4 years. So that was something I was really pushing for kind of when I got to the assistant level. Is we fight more grass fires, we need more grass trucks, we need more brush trucks. So in the last 2 years, 3 years ago, we blew a motor in one of our big 6x military vehicles. After a lot of research, we were going to spend about $16,000-$20,000 to put a new motor in that truck, in a 1985 military truck. They go anywhere, they go through anything. They're great trucks, but at that point, was it really worth putting that much more money into a $5,000 vehicle? So we opted out. We found a Freightliner 4-wheel drive that used to be had a bucket on it for, I believe, AT&T coming out of the south. It already had the bucket off, so it was just a cab and chassis. We took the bed off the blown motor camo truck 6x and welded it right on top of that frame and went to fighting fires with it. The guys, I think, were a little skeptical. I've ran several out of Hutch. It's like, hey, this will work. This is what we want. And they were a little skeptical, but after they've been on it, they're like, okay, we need another one of these. So we just bought last year we got a small brush truck. It only holds 300 gallons. It's a lot. It's F350. It's a 1-ton dually pickup is what it is with a flatbed on it. Holds 300 gallons. Our other 3 brush trucks all have 1,000 gallons of water. So we have 2 tenders, what we call a tender. One is 2,500 gallons. The other one's 3,000 gallon. The one that you see that faces Main Street, we use that for our county fires or house fires, things like that, as our first out, since it has a lot of water. 2 years, well, we've been looking at doing the addition for probably 10 years. And 3 years ago, we had prices, we were getting ready to move forward, and then COVID hit. And that $250,000 building went to about 500 in about 2 months. So we went, well, we don't have the money anymore. So we started pancake feeds in January on Saturdays and, started raising more money. Did we raise enough money in that pancake feed to pay for a building? No, we didn't. But I think the community really well received them, and it allowed us to add a few extra things that we probably would not have been able to afford. One big thing I wanted in the new addition was floor drains. And the old part that was built in 1972 did not have a floor drain in it. For trucks that hold water, that are 20, 30 years old, they leak water. Where does that water go when it doesn't have a drain? It goes nowhere. So I fought for floor drains. They're like, well, they're expensive. I'm like, it's a fire station. I put floor drains in it. So we use that pancake feed money that help for the floor drains. If you walk through that new part, there's all of our cord reels for electric. We keep them charged all the time. There's air lines up there. That stuff helped. That pancake feed helped buy that little stuff. The building ended up costing us just under $500,000. So the original bids came in. I think one was $750, one was $950, and one was $1.2 million. When we went to bid for it and went out to companies, and we're like, well, I guess we're going to wait a few more years. We went in and met with Evans and kind of talked about what we wanted. They go, here, we got a new bid for you. And they come back just under 500,000. We're like, hey, we can do this. So Danielle's done a great job over the last 10 years from when we started saving money, started putting money back. That way we could afford this building. The Firemen's Relief Association ended up loaning money to the city to pay for it. But we could set the interest. We can set how soon it gets paid back. It was pretty much our members giving the city a loan, so we didn't have to go outside and borrow money for the addition. If you guys ever come over through there, walk through there, all the trucks that are in the new part, except for one, fit in the old part with all the trucks that are in the old part. So it was very crowded. It was something way past long due for that addition. And it has made life a lot easier for us. It's safer to get in and out of the vehicles, getting in and out of the station. It's been a blessing, and I've heard a lot of positive things. I haven't heard too many negatives. I know the guys are pretty excited about it. So, and thanks to your guys' support, it allowed us to do those kind of things. 2 years ago, so we finished that about a year and a half ago. You'll notice we have a ladder truck. Some of you may have seen it. We fly it. We have a big old flag. We fly off of it. That is an old Hutch fire truck. They had it listed for sale for about $200,000. Me jokingly walked by and said, well, when it gets to $100,000, let me know. Cheney will be interested. And Chief walked by about a week later and said, you guys want that truck for $100,000? It's yours. And I went, uh-oh, now I got to come up with I just got a $500,000 addition. I don't know how I'm going to get a $100,000 ladder truck. So called Danielle. I was like, we personally may have just bought a fire truck. She goes, why? And I was like, well, told her the story. She goes, thanks. Now what do we do? Well, we got to take it to city council, you know. We have an opportunity to buy a $200,000 apparatus for $100,000. It's kind of dumb not to. Our engine at that time was 35 years old. It was starting to have some pretty good mechanical issues. It was definitely at the top of the list to replace. If you asked me before this truck showed up, does Cheney Fire Department need a ladder truck? And I would have told you absolutely not. It's, you know, we don't have enough calls. We don't have enough tall buildings. There is a little more maintenance to them. But when this one came across at this price, and I knew where it had been its entire life, and I know the mechanics that have worked on this truck and how well the city of Hutch takes care of their stuff, it was kind of a no-brainer. So when people asked me, I said, well, that's our engine. That's our new engine. It has a 2,000 gallon per minute pump on it. So if you think about that, it can take 2 of those brush trucks I was talking about, and it can empty both of them in 1 minute. So it can flow a lot of water in a hurry. It carries 300 gallons of water on it. Most of the time, 300, 400 gallons of water will put out a normal house fire, a room and content, a kitchen fire, a bedroom fire. So we've got enough water to get started. They asked me, why do you guys have a ladder truck? And I said, we don't have a ladder truck. We have an engine. It just has a ladder on top. So I had one council member, he didn't like that comment. The others were gracious and like, no, we need to buy this. So that's how we ended up with it. It's served us well. We've got to use it on several fires. Luckily, we had it for Luber's fire when they had their big fire. We had a house fire a month ago right out the back window. Good group of guys showed up and controlled it pretty quick. Unfortunately, a few pets did not survive, but the occupants did. So